Hello viewers, you're welcome to Economy Today on TVRC. I am your host for today, Olaniyan Kudus Oluwatobiloba is my name. And with me on set today, I have Dr. Akintunde Somi Vincent. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you.
It's really good to have you with us on set today. So we're going to be talking about the current minimum wage and its significance on the average Nigerian citizen. Of course, we just recently heard that the minimum wage was recently increased, and we want to find out some of the states that adopted this, are they actually already paying their workers this amount, and can some of these states even afford to pay their workers this amount as well? And we also want to find out some of the measures that can be put in place to be able to address the issue that might come up as well. So for us to get started, Doctor, I would like to ask, what exactly is minimum wage and what does it entail?
Well, minimum wage, ordinarily, when you talk about minimum wage, you are referring to the minimum take-home grant of prospective, not just prospective, of workers. Okay. Generally. Just like I said, is a minimum take-home allowance, minimum take-home grant, for workers that governed by a particular law.
Okay. Wow. I see. So you're trying to tell me now that once the law is passed that a particular amount of money should be paid to workers, it also affects both public and private?
Yes, it should. But there's a kind of a laxity on part of the private.
Okay.
It has to come with consensus. It becomes a yardstick to measure what should be paid to a worker, but not forcefully. That's why there's a kind of a consensus. What is being paid at by the government ordinarily should be a yardstick for what private should pay. But if most of the private organization, if they appears not to have the capacity, then they have to have there's a kind of agreement between the worker, between the employer and the employee, to pay a certain amount of money. But it has to come with a kind of agreement.
Okay. Right, so I would like to ask, we want to delve further into this particular topic, especially its significance on the Nigerian citizen. So do you think the current minimum wage commiserates with the daily living of the average Nigerian citizen?
Now, if I may ask, how much is the minimum wage?
Well, at the 70,000 naira.
70,000 naira. Some are just saying, some states, agree to pay 80,000 naira. Some are saying, some are even moving beyond 80,000 naira to 82,000 naira thereabout, like the likes of Lagos State, River State, and what have you, and some other states like that, trying to be a kind of a leading figure in that regard. But let's look at the situation. If you look at the cost of living and the standard of living, let's start from the cost of living.
Okay.
Look at the price of goods and commodities in the market. Compare to time in retrospect 3 to 4 years ago. You will agree with me that things has really changed, sporadically. But even the point is, the minimum wage has it been paid? That's another kettle of fish. This part of a kind of pseudo leadership style that this incumbent government is trying to set in motion that seems not to all go well with so many Nigerians.
Yes,
when you agree to pay a particular amount of money, and what the reason why you are paying the amount of money has been set in motion, yet you are not paying the money. You said because now the cost of energy is at the moment on the high side. Because the cost of energy is on the high side, so don't worry. I will pay you something that will help you to afford that energy. The energy is on the high side. What should help the worker to acquire that energy is not available. You are not paying it.
Yeah.
You see, it's more or less like it's deceptive in nature. So what am I saying in essence is the cost of living is high, and when the cost of living is high, it will affect the standard of living. So in a country like ours, both standard of living and cost of living on the high side, but the minimum wage yet to be implemented. They are not implemented. The implementation is it's more or less like it's just crawling. It has not been. The implementation is still very much. It's still very much. It's opaque, translucent. We don't know when they are going to when the government will pay. If I may even ask, how many federal workers do we have in this country that want to pay the minimum wage to? Now let's even come back to the state. How many state workers compared to countless Nigerians who does not even have something to do? Look at the unemployment index. It's so high. Look at the poverty index. It's very high. So you cannot say because you want to pay a sizable percentage of Nigerians minimum wage and you are not making things difficult. But let's come back to the bone of contention, the minimum wage. You ask that, is it commensurate? A bag of rice is over 100,000 plus.
Yes.
And you said you want to pay 70,000 naira. The fuel, PMS, that drives our economy, that is, in short, it has become part of our, become part of our life in the country. Because either you are a private you private a car owner, or you are a public car owner, you are going to make do with this
fuel, yes.
with this PMS. Now, a liter is 1,200, and you said the minimum wage is 70,000 naira. A bag of rice is a popular food in Nigeria. Okay, it's a food for. I mean, it's a food that must be consumed. And even if you don't want to even consume rice, let's come back to pasta, to spaghetti. Now, ask me that how much is a sachet of spaghetti. Your guess is as good as mine. You know, a pack of spaghetti is over, I don't know, if not of over 20,000 naira, with just sizable number of packs in the sizable number of what's it called? You know, when you take it like one by one in a particular pack like that, you know, put them together. They are less than, I mean, it's up to 20 to 20. It's going to take like how many months to consume such pasta?
It's not up to months.
And yet, the minimum wage is 70,000 naira. Like I said, put all together, and you are going to pay the tuition fee as the head of the house. You are going to service charge, home charge. You are going to pay your utility bills. You are going to pay your rent. You are going to also fuel your car with 70,000 naira. Then you want to.
It really
no, I put a question to you. Do you think it's commensurate? So your guesses, they are as good as mine.
Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot, doctor. That's a lot. But before I ask this next question, because I came across statistics, and if you trace it back to when the minimum wage was being paid in 1981, it started with 125 naira. And just to back up what you just said, right as at then, you know, the equivalent amount of naira to a dollar was very, very low then, maybe about 0.61 thereabouts. So yes, then you could count 125 naira. It had value then. But if you compare it now, you see a rapid decline in the amount of money spent, the amount of money as minimum wage equivalent to the dollar.
Let me quickly butt in. That is as a result of devaluation of our currency.
Yes, so it has become
because now because the government the government appears to be desperate to wanting to save a whole lot of money. I don't know if you want to save it for the generation yet unborn at the detriment of those who are living at the moment. Because when you float your currency, you devalue your currency because you want to sell your products to people outside the country. Or maybe you want to sell your product to those that are assisting you, you know, because there are some country that has reached a kind of agreement with Nigeria that most often time are not known to the citizens. So the government will want to do everything to make it easy for them. And that's why when you devalue your currency, your local currency becomes so weak, so that people out there can afford what you are producing.
To buy what you are producing.
But when they want to import their own now into the country, it now becomes expensive.
A very big problem.
Expensive. So that's the whole situation, and it's affecting the localies. I mean, it's affecting people that are in the country. Take a look. Even if you are paying 70,000 naira and you are importing, we still eat imported rice, and you are importing rice into the country, it's going to be based on the amount, you know, of money that is being used to import that particular. And I mean, now you are measuring based on the standard of that country. Let's say dollar, and you devalue your currency. Let's say dollar to a naira is 1,700 naira. Then you imported a rice of 15,000 US dollars. convert it to Nigerian money, it may not be affordable to Nigeria, just to set a kind of a reference. So these are the reasons. Devaluation of currency, floating of currency, eventually makes your... Now, I asked a question that what can you buy with 15 naira in this country? What if not for sachet water and sweet for BBC here and there?
Sweet and chewing
We see 5 naira is no longer in circulation. It's obsolete.
It's not even longer.
5 naira is obsolete. 10 naira it has become an antiquity. You can only see it in the museum. 20 naira is becoming a relic of itself. So what are we saying? 15 naira is almost going out of the system. We have country, even in Africa, that spend coins. When our papers are becoming obsolete, is that when you want to talk about? Even in the US, they still spend cents. Coins cost cents. You know, so, but here in our country, our coins they are obsolete. 5 naira antiquity, they have become a kind of a things of the past. 20 naira, not what can you buy with 20 naira? Absolutely nothing. 15 naira, it's almost becoming this thing.
The same too.
So must we continue just because we want to? I mean, our leaders must. I don't know what is really, something is really wrong somewhere.
Okay, so back to the issue of the current minimum wage. Do you think the states can afford to pay this amount, this 70k amount?
I think, in all fairness, not all states has the capacity to pay the minimum wage of 70,000 naira. In all fairness.
Okay, so what measures can be adopted to ensure and to help states to be able to pay this amount?
See, is to make sure that we do the needful. Either look at those who are paying, those who has their capacity to pay. It's because over time they've improved their revenue, their internet, they've increased their revenue. Look at Lagos State.
Yeah,
Must Lagos State be the only deep sea port where we have in this country? We have so many. Anambra has a beach. Port Harcourt, the same thing. Ondo State, the same thing. They have the capacity to have their own deep sea port, so that they will decongest Lagos, and they also can increase their own revenue. So many government are becoming lazy. They are not. They ought to be an influencer, influence the farmer. Look at virtually all the states in this country. God has blessed with one crops or the other. Like we've seen some part of the country, they are cocoa producer. They produce cocoa in their numbers. Some they produce timber. Some they produce. I mean, just something that could be export outside the country. Some timber. Some even onions, watermelons. Do you know that Malaysia thrives on palm oil? They came to Nigeria to pick palm oil, and today they are one of the largest producers of palm oil in the world. We have all this. It is when we are able to produce, that's when we can export. Then we standardize our currency. We stop the floating of currency. If you think you have the money, come and buy. If you don't have the money, stay in your country. But when you want to, because you want to please them, you want to save money at all costs. Okay, bottleneck your currency. I mean, you unleash your currency. You allow it to float here and there. Then, because you want to please those you want to please the buyers. Because you want to save money.
Wow.
And now, even at that, what you are producing, I mean, look at how much Gary is sold. We are the one that is produced in Africa, in Nigeria. Gary.
Yes.
Look at our crude oil. We have crude oil in this country. We are importing petroleum products. We made a mess of the system. That's why we need another thing that needs to be done is to pray for a creative, innovative, sensible, a man of wisdom. We need to produce intelligent. We have to intellectually prowess leaders.
Okay.
A leader based on antecedent, not the one that does not even know his right from his left.
Okay.
A leader intellectual par excellence. These are people we should crave for. Creative leaders, creative thinkers.
So we are looking at production and intellectual leaders.
We need intellectual prowess, production. That's how we can change the situation. Because we are talking about minimum wage. Minimum wage, when you pay your workers commensurate salary, you are going to save so much for your country. You are going to save the issue of brain drain. It is because our nurses are not paid. That's why they want to travel to anywhere at all costs. Doctors are not paid. They want to travel to anywhere at all costs. Now, most of the teaching hospitals that used to have giant consultants,
Yeah.
those teaching hospitals are now empty.
Yes.
How can you leave your university? Your professors are traveling. Do you want to leave your universities in the end of graduate assistants, GAs? Who does that?
A lot of all
Because what you are paying them is peanuts. It's not commensurate. Okay, take a look at it. 70,000 naira is no, converted to dollars is how much? Less than is a token in dollars. 70,000 naira.
I think it's even barely up to 40.
So when you make your currency, when you strengthen your currency, then you stop floating your currency. Then you make, like, if it's maximum $500 or even 300. What is bad if we are taking the dollar 300 naira, 200 naira? Even what if a naira, 1 naira for $1? That's where it should be. But here you are paying 1,700 for just $1.
Very unfortunate.
For just $1, 1,700. America is a country that thrives on their dollars. Nigeria is a country that thrives on its naira. You strengthen your naira. But
wow.
we just want to live in nice. We want to live in deception that everything has been dollarized. Why can't everything be naira? We nairanize everything. We nairanize everything. If that's the case, so it's just quite unfortunate that we find ourselves in this kind of mess.
This is a lot, and I hope that we've been able to reach out to a whole lot of viewers out there, and we've been able to sensitize them on this idea of current minimum wage, and as well as some of the states, the fact that some of these states cannot even afford this. Just few states, a very low percentage of states can afford the minimum wage, and we've also been able to provide some certain measures that can be put in place.
Sorry, quickly, let me add this. I talked about production.
Yes, you did.
Like those who has the capacity to pay the minimum wage. We talked about Lagos and what have you.
Yeah.
For example, when you ask me some states, what are they what are they? Ask about the IGR. You'll be shocked that even some of them are subsidized. They are at the beck and call of the federal allocation. They are always waiting for federal allocation. That's what they do. They are not pushing any production. They are not pushing to know where the raw materials are located in their states. They are just there waiting for federal allocation. It has become a safe haven for some individuals to just spend their 4 years, collect the federal allocation, gather money over time, and after the 4 years, they use the money that they've gotten over time to seek re-election, and they are re-elected for 80 years. 8 good years.
Nothing is done.
Nothing is shown. They cannot show that they cannot show anything. Nothing could be shown for it.
So internally generated revenue is nada, nothing.
They cannot pitch. They cannot say this what they've been able to achieve, and even when they are leaving, they will even put the state in jeopardy. They will loot the country. They will loot the state dry. To the extent that the incoming governor will need to start work afresh.
Wow.
It has become the trajectory for some states, and that's why some of them will tell you openly that they cannot afford to pay this minimum wage.
Wow. There you have it, viewers, on Economy Today. I remain your humble host. Thank you so much, Doctor, for honoring our invitation today. It's really, really good to have you, and we appreciate your suggestions and your contributions towards this particular topic. God bless you. Take care. Till next time.